Alrighty guys, another episode of Shellonomics. So, Cowabunga Collection 2022, Shredder's Revenge 2022, Splintered Fate 2023. What a fantastic time it is for us Ninja Turtle fans and gamers to be a part of such a great gaming atmosphere. We're joined now with Xalavier Nelson Jr. from Strange Scaffold, who is the creative director of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, which is coming out in sometime this year. Xalavier, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Awesome. So I usually ask my guests this first question. So what is your introduction to Ninja Turtles?
First introduction to Ninja Turtles for me was the 2003 show. Wake up early one morning, turn on the TV, and the Turtles are, especially in that iteration of the series, they're a little grim, but they're funny, and they're and the way that they approach action in a way that balances gentleness and genuine genuine thrills. It just stuck with me, and from there, going into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with my mom and her era of Turtles with things like the 90s movies, watching those growing up, and even connecting with the original comics. Before I started working on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, I had the ability to love and appreciate a broad spectrum of different things that have defined the TMNT. Everything from the Last Ronin on one side and the IDW comics all the way to the Fred Wolf cartoon. So being able to make a game that is in its own little universe, drawing from all of those sources and telling a new story in the process, that's very exciting.
So what caused you to say, you know what, I want to make my own Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game is the first question. And the second one after that is, what inspired you to create this sort of twist? Because this is very unique for us Turtle fans. It's got a beat-em-up feel, but it's also got like a nice little board game feel.
This actually came from just having a really good friendship with the folks over at Paramount. We've wanted to work together for a while, and we'd been looking for a project, and nothing was quite fitting. And at one point, I just kind of took them through some of the stuff that our studio was working on, and one of those projects is called Teenage Demon Slayer Society, and it featured us really thinking through how do you make a tactics game that isn't stressful to learn, because as a tired adult, I increasingly think about, okay, new game, I'm gonna have to learn the controls, and then the tutorials could be an hour, and I've got like an hour in the evening. I don't have time, if something is not accessible and intuitive and compelling from the very beginning, to start putting my time and energy towards it. So making as we joked inside the team, a tactics game, a strategy game for idiots by idiots, that could be really invested with a sense of kinetic action, but in a turn-based format, was the priority. And we were in the middle of building that game. I showed that game, among others, to Paramount, and looking through their list of amazing properties that are associated with it at the same time, I stopped on the Teenage Demon Slayer Society page and said, what if this was a TMNT game? And instantly, the person I was speaking to, his face lit up. He instantly got it. And what was very validating for us as a development team, because you never know if something that you've chosen to do, especially when you blend genres, which is something that Strange Scaffold does regularly, you don't know if people are going to understand why what you've done is special and unique. And the fact that in that room he understood it and saw how that could be applied to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was incredibly special. So from there, it's just a matter of finding the exact story we wanted to tell with it, and making this more than a reskin to tell its own distinct flavor of what a TMNT game could be. So it's not, as in the original game Teenage Demon Slayer Society, a turn-based character action game. It's a turn-based beat-em-up, and we embrace all the things that means. In a turn-based beat-em-up, you have Go appearing every time the level mutates around you. The level itself is changing constantly to give you that sense of momentum that you've felt in your favorite TMNT games. So I'm really glad, this is something I talk about in a lot of contexts, about how Strange Scaffold really embraces limitations as enabling creativity, and we took the limitation of working in a existing game context and framework and engine to be able to do something that feels legitimately fresh and new, both for players in general as well as for how it exists in the wider framework of games Strange Scaffold is making. So I'm just, again, incredibly excited that we got to do that and that it emerged from the humble foundation that is often looked down upon in my industry of what does it look like for us to take something that's working and instead of doing a cash grab, really think about how we can make, with that limitation, something that feels and looks really special.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head there. I'm at the age where I call it lazy river gaming. I've done my retro days of Nintendo and Super Nintendo. I've played the demo too. I enjoy the difficulty because it took me a little while to get there, but we eventually figured it out, and we got through every level, which is awesome. So again, we'll get to that demo talk a little later. But can you explain the timeline of this game? Because again, you wanted to put a unique twist and a unique sort of pepperoni pizza flavor to this game. So what was your pizza flavor for this kind of game for the timeline?
So the pizza flavor is pizza and sausage, probably. We knew that we wanted to follow in the tradition of the games that people seem to really be connecting with right now. Everybody adored Shredder's Revenge. I played Shredder's Revenge. I got that moment of falling in love with the TMNT again. And rather than replicate that, the question is what happens next? What can be done that's really respecting the license and the worlds that have been made with TMNT, but does something a little different? So in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, the Turtles are about 17, 18 years old. They are approaching adulthood, and several years before the events of the game, Shredder and Splinter and the Turtles had a climactic fight where Shredder and Splinter managed to defeat each other. Splinter made a heroic sacrifice, saved his sons, and New York still encounters problems, but it continues to be guarded by the TMNT and their cast of friends and allies. So really taking the advantage of the ability to tell a personal story for the TMNT. If it's been years since your greatest enemy and your father figure have both died, and you're approaching adulthood, the natural inclination for a person is that as you grow up from people you're close to, you're going to grow apart unless you put forward efforts to maintain those connections. So Raph and Casey are living in an apartment. Donatello is living out his secluded super scientist vibes in the battle bus that he drives around the city. You have Leonardo, who is taken to being a solo vigilante. His character arc is maybe my favorite in the game, and one I haven't quite seen for him before. He's just so focused on being the best, on being dedicated, that it's leading him into this self-destructive cycle. So he's doing his Batman thing, whether or not it's as effective as working with his brothers, because that's where his positive character trait of responsibility can be distorted. And finally, you have Mikey on the home front, still tending the lair, keeping himself, helping his brothers, but kind of seeing his family drift and trying to figure out desperately how he can pull them back together. And as the Turtles face a new threat in Karai, who is introduced for the first time into our universe, she comes from abroad and is going to, by working with Baxter Stockman, find a way to not just eliminate the TMNT once and for all, but take over New York. The brothers have an ability to not just see that they need to be in each other's lives, but that they want to be, and that if they don't work for it, they aren't going to keep it. So there's a lot of really cool family messages in there. There's a lot of really interesting ways that we're able to put our own spin on the Turtles as you've seen them, familiar but new. And one of my favorite things about, again, the approach of the world is we aren't trying to go gritty. We aren't trying to go mature and explicit and subversive for the sake of it. One of my favorite things about the TMNT is that, yes, they are high-flying heroes, but they're also teenagers. There is this grounding, this emotional reality that lets everything else feel realistic on top of that, even if you're dealing with, massive monsters and cyborg enemies. So on our side, saying coming of age, adulthood, here's this realistic grounding that we can still that realistic grounding doesn't keep us from having fun or showcasing the full spectrum of these characters' personalities. All of that is one of many, many reasons I'm excited about making this game.
I just had goosebumps now. I got confirmation of what the story is all about. I can't wait to play the full game. So can we talk about your motives behind the style of gameplay? Again, you guys are very passionate, similar to the 1990s Ninja Turtle movie. I had Ken Scott on for an interview, and they were talking about they wanted each turtle to have their own different fighting style. So can you explain the motives here? One in particular I like is somebody's got to be a Mortal Kombat fan on your team, because Raphael's got a scorpion get over here like approach, which is how he would fight. So can you talk about each turtle and their unique, combat style for a bit?
Yes. So one of the limitations of our game engine is that you can only play as one character at a time. And that means, yes, you can play as Leo, Donnie, Raph, Mikey, but they don't fight together, at least not in any typical way. I'll leave some surprises for the final game.
Okay.
But with that in mind, the idea is, how do we make the most of that from an art standpoint, from a story standpoint, and make that feel natural in terms of the gameplay? And I think when people get their hands on the game, part of the reason we put out the demo that we did, and I believe we're going to talk about that later,
Definitely,
is to show how this style of gameplay actually couldn't have worked and couldn't have this kind of relentless momentum if you're trying to move four different guys around at the same time. So with these characters, one of the key points of the story and of the world that's sort of left as a breadcrumbs for the player to discover is that Donnie has kind of invented away the need for teamwork. As they were starting to naturally drift apart, he's like, you know what, I'll just make drones that do what all of you do, and then whenever any of us is on a mission, we can just take the drone that we need, right? Problem solved. And you can just hear Mikey in a corner sweating, just being like, oh, but we should be traveling together. So our assist moves, our super moves, are when you've been dealing enough damage on the board, you can summon a drone that you can choose in your loadouts to fulfill a turtle function. So the Mikey flavored drone comes in with its orange coloring, and it drops a pizza on you. The Donnie drone does a stun blast. It sets off an EMP. The Leo drone is a pep talk. It's a recorded pep talk from your brother, and that's the one that hits me in the feels the most, because the idea that this drone is dropping off a pep talk because you don't stay in contact anymore. Gosh, that just hits me right in the feels. And then finally you have the raft drone, which is just filled with knives, and it just blasts through a bunch of enemies when you activate it. So each character's moveset, much like their drones, is intended to embody their personality in this turn-based format. So you have Leo, which deals a lot of damage and is focused on dealing damage in ways that lets him, like a tactician, put buffs and bonuses on himself. So if you're going to get attacked by a bunch of guys in the next turn, you eliminate a series of enemies in a way that stacks evasion on you, so you can dodge all of those incoming reprisals. Donnie, he's throwing gadgets everywhere. You'll be able to unlock additional moves in the final game as well and slot them into the loadout and find your specific tank on how you want to play each turtle. But he's gadget heavy. He's throwing out electric shock fields, and he lets you really focus on board control. Mikey moves really fast with his skateboard, so he's the one who can zip from one end of the arena to the other, dealing a lot of damage along the way. My personal favorite move in the game, which is a holdover from Teenage Demon Slayer Society, is his kickflip. Okay. And he hops over an enemy and juggles them into the air at the same time. And the juggle acts like a stun, but also sets them up for future damage in a really fun and flavorful way. So the idea that you're in a turn-based game, juggling enemies, and they hang in midair, and their figurines are just kind of dangled there, all of that, again, feels distinct in a way that I haven't seen in games, and as a fan of games, I'm excited to bring into the genre. Finally, Raph is about leaping into groups of enemies and taking out everyone. He's one of the few people who can award action points back to himself. So managing to engineer the board in just the right way so that you can kind of chain chomp your way through guy after guy after guy. That's just what the base movesets allow you to do. Each moveset lets you feel like the turtle you're playing, kind of justifies why each one is fighting alone, but as you play through the game, gives you more and more of an appreciation for how these brothers, once they're back together again, would be unstoppable. And it's lovely that you get to see them discover that too.
Just a bonus question on account. Who decided to come up with the flick? I'm calling it the flick. You just get to knock these dudes off the board, and it just feels like I'm playing Mortal Kombat, uppercutting them into the pit for a fatality. So how did you implement that into the gameplay too? I love doing it in the demo. It was so much fun.
That's a new feature for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. It emerged from you're making the game, at a certain point you're letting the game tell you the best version of itself. And so our lead designer, Tom Vanita, we were looking at these dioramas and the really cool action figure aesthetic we've got going on. And we kicked a dude towards a wall and he stopped at the wall. And it was just like, man, wouldn't it be so much cooler if instead of when he gets to the edge of the arena, he just stops there, if he could go off the side because you're existing in a void anyway. And we went back and forth over whether it was possible, whether we had the time and the budget for it. And I think a day or two later, Tom was like, I did it, and it feels really cool. And so it's become a critical piece of the gameplay ever since. Sometimes you do want to keep people on the board and keep them close to you so that you can manipulate the field in your way. But sometimes you just want to boot someone right off the edge of a massive void, and whenever we can enable that, that's real special when we try to do it.
Yeah, I had so much fun doing that. So another question here is, how important is gaming music to you? Again, if you grew up with Shredder's Revenge, you played that one a couple years ago. If you played the old Turtle games like from Konami, Turtles in Time, Hyperstone Heist, even the NES games, Turtles 1, 2, and 3, they all had memory, powerful soundtracks. Now, again, I've played your demo so far. I love the music. Each of them has a different vibe. Particularly favorite to Raphael is more like a metal heavy, like kind of rock type thing. So how important is gaming music to you guys?
Gaming music is really important for our studio, to the point that when I'm creating a new game concept, we don't begin full production, or one of the first parts of full production is to guide the rest of the team. Let's get our first track ready, because without those tracks, without that music, I think fully understanding the world that you're within is impossible. So our composer on this game is RJ Lake, who we've worked with several times before on games like Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator and El Paso Elsewhere. And this time around, the beautiful thing he's done is create every single level in the game with a distinct track. So each turtle, we're going to have something like 20 levels in the final game. Each turtle having roughly 4. Each turtle functions as an EP unto itself. So when you listen to them in sequence, you go, oh, every Donnie track builds on the previous Donnie track. Every Donnie, just in the same way that every Donnie level builds on the previous level. And in special moments and circumstances, then you start to see their themes meld together as they begin to meld together again as brothers. And yeah, to take all of that and answer your question, rooting this game in its music and a deep appreciation of what game music can do and what it can do in an interactive context, even if you don't notice it, so that you are feeling the journey of these brothers together and apart. All of those, I think, are reasons why the soundtrack is, at least according to your feedback, working really well, and why we're really excited to have RJ in particular, having worked with us on so many games and now building an entire game about music. You use music to fight for the freedom of the world that you're in a game called Unbeatable. He was just the perfect choice to bring this soundtrack together and really do the Turtles justice.
Gosh, and another tip of my Shellonomics cap to whoever, I don't know the correct terminology, but whoever your gaming designer artist is. So in Leonardo's demo level, I noticed a real nice cameo. Nice job by giving the look of this gentleman. We won't reveal him because I want people to play the demo to find out who he is. So fantastic job of them. Can we expect more characters like that to appear in the 20 levels? Side characters, allies, villains, etc.
Not many.
Okay.
We have a couple of fun cameos. We have some moments where we say what has happened with the world since then.
Okay.
But as you know, each character, like if you had Bebop and Rocksteady in the game, which we don't, but
Okay.
like as soon as Bebop and Rocksteady are in the picture, you want to build an entire level around them. You can't just throw them onto the board and have them be a generic enemy. You have to build something to really tell the story of Bebop and Rocksteady being here, because they're characters that deserve that. So having this be a really personal story at the end of the day about the Turtles, about the new enemies attacking New York, and about how they change going forward is where we ended up going to make the most of the time we had to build the game, as well as try to, rather than do anyone an injustice, do the best justice we could to the characters that we focused on. With all that said, we did manage to fit Fugitoid into the game. And when you see the role that Fugitoid plays, I think you'll be as excited as I am.
Oh, gosh. I've been excited since day one. My buddy said, you got to tell him that the only sad thing about the demo was it was coming to an end. So why did your company give us gamers so much value in a demo? You can explain why, but just this is being recorded early March. The demo, I believe, came out real quick in late February, right? Around the 26th, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the demo, guys, you get a tutorial of Michelangelo to figure out your gameplay, and then you get to play a level with each turtle. So why give us all of that? I appreciate it.
Thank you. Part of it is always nice to be generous with the demo and to give people a really meaty slice of what the final game will offer. But I think another huge part of it was to really mark clearly what the game is and isn't. We are not Shredder's Revenge. We're not Turtles in Time. We aren't other popular strategy games like XCOM. It's doing its own thing, and so to explain and then sort of organically, by seeing how well it works, justify why it isn't all these other things. We wanted to give people a giant, just a dissertation on why it feels so cool to be an action, and then whipping them with Mikey's nunchucks to knock them off the board. That real explanation via gameplay is really exciting and very important to us. So this contains the first full chapter of the game. There's going to be 4 chapters in total. And again, we're just really excited for how each of those worlds and each of those levels that you get to experience in the demo explain, oh, that's why they did that. Oh, this is why assist moves are really cool. And here's why I should play a TMNT game that isn't another beat 'em up, because as much as I love those, it is really fun as a longtime fan of the Turtles to see something else express itself in that world.
And what I enjoy is you get to take your time here, guys. I mean, I guess because I've in my subconscious, I gotta take these foot guys out of me. It's like, no, I like how there's no clock here. It's not, no time limit. Take your time with that. I also want to talk about how passionate were you guys with your enemy designs? Because again, this is not Turtles in Time. This is not Shredder's Revenge. However, all these foot soldiers feel like I'm playing a retro Ninja Turtle game, because you guys did such a great job with the foot soldier. You have different colored foot. You have different colored mousers. So what made you say, you know what, guys, if we're doing this, we got to do this right for Turtle fans? Because you guys definitely went the extra mile for us.
Oh, thank you. There's stuff I don't even know if it ended up in the final game of, like, you have the big foot brutes.
Yep.
Who are shirtless.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did that end up in the final game? I don't remember.
I think I fought Footy Elite. There are some big jocks, if you get my drift. There's some big dudes in it, which is a nice, again, fresh breath of air, in my opinion, because you used to just fight, random colored footy, but it was nice seeing some stocky dudes. I don't want to say they were shirtless, but I know you can see their muscle on there. It's like they were Popeye after having a couple cans of spinach.
Yes, we have some spinach infused foot soldiers. We'll say.
There you go.
I think a lot of it was to make the most of those characters in that setting, as you identified. When you're fighting the foot in the game, if only to give you the feeling of variety, the really common solution is to recolor the foot. and that's valid. But when the foot, especially when they work with other allies, in our case, Baxter Stockman, the fact that they can be so expressive and can be so many other things. We have foot wearing jetpacks. We have foot coming from almost the action figure angle of here's a foot with a blaster accessory, and when they fire at you, they reduce your action points in the next turn, making it harder for you to accomplish your goals. Yeah, we just wanted to, with our more focused slice of the Turtles world, just kind of make the most of it. So, big mousers, small mousers, a wide variety of foot, and really asking for every potential enemy type in there, including, you might have seen, I believe the term is Robo-Rodneys.
Yes, Roadkill Ronnie's. Yep, Roadkill Ronnie's in there from the '87 series. Well done there. I was hyped when I played the demo and saw him because it sucks. He was only in one episode of the old cartoons, but in all these video games, he's made multiple appearances. So it's nice to see Roadkill Ronnie still getting some love.
And in our game, he's so dangerous because you existing in these dioramas, you can get pushed off the side, and his entire role is to push you. So him being able to move and shove you back when you're especially fighting on the rooftops with someone like Raph, it becomes really scary, really fast. So, yeah, just looking for enemy variety within the limitations we have in this focus slice of the world that we wanted to show off and tell a story around. That was the goal, and as far as I'm concerned, at least, the rest of the team has really hit it out of the park, especially in building these characters. Our 3D character artist, James Cody Lambert, he has even put little details into every model that you can see the more you play the game that I think really speak to the level of dedication that everyone had. I'll just give one small example of that.
Sure.
If I don't remember the exact TMNT game for this, I usually have these off the top of my head, but it's at the end of the workday, so I'm a little frazzled.
Gotcha.
But there is a TMNT game where when you walk into the boss room, this giant mouser appears, and it has this one giant glowing eye. And it has cables instead of the more clean look that a mouser tends to have, where it's all like nice little metal plates. It's like, no, this one is composed of rage and big cables strung together to make this horrific, massive thing move. J. Cody Lambert's experience and love with the world of the game meant that we have an updated take on that character and its look, but that mouser has found its way into our world. We have this, we didn't just increase the size of a mouser, we looked for something in the legacy of this series that has had so many people contribute to it and said, this is a place where we can honor the beat-em-ups as they existed and bring them into a new format and with a new look that really honors that world. So, yeah, that's just one of many examples of people understanding the assignment and taking it as far as they could go to honor the world of TMNT.
Gosh, exactly. So the demo is out now, guys, and where can gamers find the demo?
You can find it on Steam for Steam Next Fest. It is available until March 24th is the current plan. And because this will be airing on Thursday, I can say that means you have until March 24th to experience the game that will be coming out very soon on May 22nd. So if you enjoy the demo, you only have a couple months to wait until you get to play the full game.
Gosh, I've seen you do a couple other podcasts, and you do not brag. You just honestly say, my company, when I say I want to make a game, I want to get it in and get it out. I don't like saying wait a couple years. I know I picked up that in another interview, so that is great news for me. That comes out before summer. Oh my gosh. So we have 20 levels. So for those listening now on YouTube and Spotify, and they are very new to this game. Again, most of my followers are more retro games. So can you just give our viewers some basic strategy on how you recommend to play this game? I know there's a tutorial on there to figure it out, but you know, like how Blackjack has basic strategy. What would be your basic strategy to somebody brand new to experience this game?
This is a strategy game that is really about being an action game in a turn-based format. So if you are especially familiar with strategy games, take those strategies, take like caution and like moving your guys 3 feet and putting them on Overwatch, put that in a nice, fold it up, put it in a nice little drawer, and put it away, because that means that not only are you going to have less of a good time in this game, but you might not even be able to finish a level. This is a game where you being on the attack is what is rewarded and what is the most enjoyable thing to do. So, caution, throw it to the wind, jump into a group of enemies, and think about how every attack can, instead of seeing where enemies are threatening certain spaces, instead of seeing that as, oh, I'm going to back away from that, think about, that means I'm going to take out that guy. There's only 2 dudes who are threatening that. I'm going to jump in, I'm going to take out both of them, and then I'll be safe. A big challenge in the development of the wider tool set really was figuring out ways to encourage people to get out of their heads and embrace an action mindset in this context. So yeah, that would be my biggest tip. Don't be cautious. Don't try to save your action points or your health points. Go on the attack and defeat the foot, because New York needs you.
Yes, exactly. Just a couple more questions, and again, thanks so much for your time, Xalavier. So
thank you.
Why would you recommend this game to Turtle fans who are familiar more with the beat 'em up style, such as we talked about Turtles in Time, Hyperzone Heist, Shredder's Revenge? Why would you tell these people to give it a try? Again, it's a free demo out there, guys, so you can't go wrong with free right now for the next couple of weeks. But besides that, why else would you recommend this game to those gamers?
The reason I'd recommend it to gamers who especially grew up with the beat 'em ups is just to get something, to get the taste that you love in a new format is the main thing I recommend. It is in so many ways a turn-based beat 'em up. So feeling that in a context where, again, I'd always think of the metaphor of the tired adult, because that's what I am, where it's like, okay, I don't have the mental energy or the reflexes to always be able to get an S rank on a level, but a game where I can not just fight the foot, but build mastery and ace a level, that's really exciting to me. So, yeah, getting your familiar appeals in ways that can surprise you again, because at this point, it's kind of hard to get surprised by just a normal TMNT beat 'em up at this point. We've had several different versions of the same thing. That's what excites me as a gamer, and what I hope brings other players a lot of joy. Finding new ways to be surprised again by the thing you love is my favorite thing in the world. It's what TMNT is amazing at doing in so many different versions of itself, and that's what Tactical Takedown is doing its best to provide as well.
You got me sold. And like I said, we've had enough. Again, all due respect to the beat 'em ups, you're not going to touch Shredder's Revenge. I don't think, like you said, it's in a league of its own. So, and Splintered Fate's actually a really cool one too. I don't know if you've played that one yet, but that one's a very nice game too. So I really do like your new spin on Turtles. And like I say, the franchise has been around for 40 years. It is very hard to deep dive, not only for a new game, but a new story too, which really has me excited. So Xalavier, where can people find you and more info about your company?
You can find the studio and all the stuff around the work that we do at Strange Scaffold. Our motto is better, faster, cheaper, and healthier, because we believe if you change the way you make games, you can change the type of games you offer players, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. If we were building it at a different scale or in a different way, I think we would end up making a more standard game, and that would mean that's one less new thing contributed to the Turtles Pantheon, which would have been a shame. So you can follow us at Strange Scaffold everywhere. We have a Discord. Feel free to join our community. If you want to follow my work and just the weird thoughts that are in my head, you can find me at Rit Nelson, WRIT Nelson everywhere. And the latest thing for me is I've been playing a lot of Dragon's Dogma 2, and me and my wife have been watching a lot of House. So if you want those sharp House takes 15 years too late, feel free to follow me there.
Oh my God, awesome. And one final question for you, Xalavier. How special is it to get a popular franchise like this on your resume, so to speak, like a feather in your cap? And for those who are listening, just something inspirational, because again, you're an indie game company, right? You're not, related to anybody big. So for those who are listening, just, how would you say, like, any advice you can share on people to never give up their dream? Because this, start at the bottom, and just to climb up here is an incredible accomplishment for you and your company. So again, congratulations on getting the rights to make an awesome game like this too.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I'd say, as far as the feather in the cap, I'm really glad it's happening at this point in the career. At this point, I've worked on Stranger Things, I've worked on South Park, I've worked on Borderlands, I've contributed to giant universes before, and if I hadn't done that by the time TMNT knocked on the door, I would have been not just worse at the job, I would have been so scared of doing it wrong, it would have been self-destructive. I remember when I was working on Stranger Things, the only way to get past my anxiety of doing it wrong is I'd have to force myself to stay up till 3 a.m. when I would be so tired that I could just write for the game that I was working on, Stranger Things VR with Tender Claws. And because it was just 3 a.m. and I was just mentally zonked out, I could finally get past my anxiety and just write the thing rather than worrying about writing it good. Because I'm told I'm good at my job. It's just getting out of your own way, right? So I'm glad it's come at this stage in my life. And for those who want to build towards similar degrees, I'd say a big part of the reason Strange Scaffold is making this game now and has the opportunity to do so is we have released 15 games in 5 years. We're releasing our next game. We haven't announced the release date on that one, so I won't say it, the release date for that one, but we're releasing our next game, including our next 2 games, TMNT and CRDM 3, Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3. They're both coming out in the next few months. We work really fast, we work efficiently, and that track record means that people trust us to do, frankly, otherwise impossible things. So with whatever resources you've got in your hand right now, whatever time you've got, whatever money you've got, if you want to pursue your dreams and you want to build, it starts with making things. Just release things with whatever you got, wherever you are, and build and build and build that track record such that when you walk into the room, there is no questioning you. You are undeniable, and you get to make the impact that you deserve to make on the worlds that you love as well.
Well, Xalavier, thank you again for your gift to us as Turtle fans and other gamers, and I can't wait to play this game in later May. Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you. Take care.